Good afternoon, y'all. As you can see, we have broken out the fall decorations here and on the bookshelf to, just will it to cool down just a little bit. I'm not a cold weather fan, so, just not in the hundreds, and I'll be happy. But we have a lot of interesting books to get into this week. There will be timestamps per each genre. I'm Morgan if you're new here. Thank you for clicking. I hope you enjoy this video, find something you want to pick up, and we'll go check out some of my others. Into the books now. Okay, there should have to be less pauses as it is kind of early, so hopefully there's less traffic. Yeah, should be, at least should be. But first up, we're going to do sci-fi, and it's going to be The Sky Vault by Benjamin Percy. This is actually the third in his cycle. Yeah, he's calling it a cycle and not a series. What's the cycle's name, though? It has a name. But I'll read you the description of the first one. Each of the books, though, takes place in a different city following a different group of people. Of course, from that city. It's on Earth, but it's different. So it sounded really cool, and that's why I wanted to mention it. It began with a comet. At first, people gazed in wonder at the radiant tear in the sky. A year later, the celestial marvel became a planetary crisis when Earth spun through the comet's debris field and the sky radiated fire. What's wrong with my eyes? Another problem with doing this so early is apparently my eyes have not adjusted to the awake. The town of Northfall, Minnesota will never be the same. Meteors cratered hardwood forests and annihilated homes, and among the wreckage a new metal was discovered. This omni-metal has properties that make it world-changing as an energy source and a weapon. John Frontier, the troubled scion of an iron ore dynasty in Northfall, returns for his sister's wedding to find his family embroiled in a cutthroat war to control mineral rights and mining operations. His father rightly suspects foreign leaders and competing corporations of sabotage. But the greatest threat to his legacy might be the U.S. government. Physicist Victoria Lennon was recruited by the Department of Defense to research omni-metal, but she finds herself trapped in a laboratory of nightmares. And across town, a rookie cop is investigating a murder that puts her own life in the crosshairs. She will have to compromise her moral code to bring justice to this now lawless community. In the third book, the one that I found first, which is The Sky Vault, that was the description for the ninth metal. Words? Oh, the third book takes place in Alaska with government bunkers and yeah. Now we'll move into fantasy. The first book we're going to mention is Chasm by Stacey McEwen. This is the second book in her Glacian trilogy. Yes, Glacian. I see. Okay, for the first book, which is Ledge, it says, in a place known as Ledge, a civilization is trapped in the vast chasm and sheer mountain face. There is no way for anyone to escape the frozen wasteland without befalling a deathly drop. They know nothing of the outside world except that it is where the Glacians reside. Mystical and vicious winged creatures who bring meager rations in exchange for a periodic human sacrifice. Menagerie rations. Dawson, axe wielder and only remaining member of her family, has so far avoided the annual culling, but her luck has run out. She's chosen and ripped from her icy home, the only world she knows. No one knows what will happen to her on the other side, least of all Dawson. Murdered, enslaved, worse. Fortunately, a half-Glacian called Ryan offers to help them both escape. But how can she trust one of the very creatures that plagued her life? Dawson is a survivor, and she's not afraid to cut anyone down. It does have content warnings, though, of gratuitous violence and death. Death of a minor, suicide, attempted something assault. What is gratuitous violence? Moving on along, we have Godkiller by Hannah Craner. This is, it was been released in the rest of the world, but it's just coming out in the U.S. this week, and very high praise from it. Heard very high praise from a lot of people. Enter a land of gods and monsters, soldiers and mercenaries, secrets and wishes. Gods are forbidden in the kingdom of Midran. Formed by human desires and fed by their worship, there are countless gods in the world. But after a great war, the new king outlawed them and now pays god killers to destroy any who try to rise from the shadows. As a child, Kristen saw her family murdered by a fire god. Now she makes her living killing them and enjoys it. But all this changes when Kristen is tasked with helping a young noble girl with the God problem. The child's soul is bonded to a tiny god of white lies, and Kristen can't kill it without ending the girl's life too. Joined by a disillusioned knight on a secret quest, the unlikely group must travel to the ruined city of Belladrin, where the last of the wild gods reside, to each beg a favor. Pursued by assassins and demons, and in the midst of a burgeoning civil war, they will face a reckoning. Something is rotting at the heart of their world, and they are the only ones who can stop it. So, the description is promising. The description is promising. Am I bumping the camera again? Next up is Dreambound by Dan Frey. When Brian Kidd's 12-year-old daughter vanishes, the only clue is a note claiming that she's taken off to explore the hidden world, a magical land from a series of popular novels. She is not the only child to seek out this imaginary realm in recent years, and Brian, a cynical and hard-nosed reporter, is determined to discover the whereabouts of dozens of missing kids. Brian secures a high-profile interview with Annabelle Tobin, the eccentric author of the books, and heads off for her palatial home in the Hollywood Hills. But the truth Byron discovers is more horrific than he ever could have dreamed. As he unearths locations from the book that seem to be bleeding into the real world, he must shed his doubts and dive headfirst into the mystical secrets of Los Angeles if he hopes to reunite with his child. Soon, Byron finds himself on his own epic journey, but he's not careful, he could be the next one to disappear. Told through journal entries, transcripts, emails, and excerpts from Tobin's novels, Dreambound is a spellbinding homage to Los Angeles and the immersive, fast-paced story of how far a father will go, even delving into the impossible worlds to save his daughter. That one sounds super interesting. I don't know why I did a little clap thing there. Then we have a fantasy romance, The Fall of Ruin and Wrath by Jennifer L. Armentrout, where she is creating a new world and characters. And it's getting early praise from reviewers. Long ago, the world was destroyed by gods. Only 9 cities were spared. Separated by the vast wilderness teeming with monsters and unimaginable dangers, each city is now ruled by a guardian royalty who feed on mortal pleasures. Born with intuition that never fails, Callista knows her talents are of great value to the power-hungry of the world. She lives hidden as a courtesan of the Baron Archwood. In exchange for protection, she grants him information. When her intuition leads her to save a traveling prince in the dire trouble, the voice inside her blazes with warning and promise. Today, he'll bring her joy. One day, he'll bring her doom. He'll be her doom. When the Baron takes an interest in the traveling prince and the prince takes an interest in Callista, she becomes the prince's temporary companion. But the city simmers with rebellion, and with knights and monsters at her city gates and a hungry prince in her bed, intuition may not be enough to keep her safe. Callista must choose, follow her intuition to safety, or follow her heart to her downfall. And that's also similar to one that I didn't put on the list, but I think it was Salt Kiss by Sierra Simone. It's going to be like a Tristan and Isolde retelling, but just like modern. And also, like Tristan might be into 2 characters in the story. And he's like a bodyguard, and he might be into his employer dude who is getting engaged to Isolde, and then he meets Isolde and he doesn't like her at first because he likes his boss, and then he falls for Isolde too. So yeah. Brief description of that one. That's coming out. That's going to be a trilogy, by the way. We will move into YA fantasy now, and we have Dream of Shadows by Logan Carley. It is a gothic-inspired fantasy romance about a deadly dream curse and the villain who fights for redemption, and a romance carved from the darkest shadows. In the kingdom of Noctis, dreams are deadly and darkness reigns. Esmer Havenfall's life is defined by loss and curses, all by the hand of the wicked Shadowbringer. 1. Her sister is dead. 2. Her future is bleak and without prospects. 3. Her village is tormented by monsters that prey on dreams. But when Esmer is accused of betraying her kingdom, launching her head first into the center of a 500-year-old curse, she's banished to the Shadowbringer's castle. While there, she must confront both the darkness within herself and the monster she must work with to survive. As her initial hatred for the Shadowbringer melts into something more passionate, drawing her closer to truths she's never dreamed of possible, Esmer realizes they might be the only ones left who can conquer the evil plaguing their kingdom. After all, to defeat the dark, one must first wade through the shadows. Then, for regular YA, we have The Name Drop by Susan Lee. When Elijah Ree arrives in New York City for an internship at his father's massive tech company, Hanwell Corporation, he expects the royal treatment that comes with being the future CEO, even if that's the last thing he wants. But instead, he finds himself shuffled into a group of overworked, underpaid interns, all sharing a shoebox apartment for the summer. When Jessica Lee arrives in New York City, she's eager to make the most of her internship at Hanwell Corporation, even if she's the bottom of the corporate ladder. But she's shocked to be introduced as the new executive and training intern with a gorgeous brownstone all to herself. It doesn't take long for Elijah and Jessica to discover that the source of the mistake, they share the same Korean name, but they decide to stay switched, so Elijah can have a relaxing summer away from his controlling dad, while Jessica can make the connections she desperately needs for college recommendations. As Elijah and Jessica work together to keep up the charade, a spark develops between them. Can they avoid discovery and total disaster with their feelings and futures on the line? Now we move into adult fiction with Rogue by Mona Awad. For as long as she can remember, Belle has been insidiously obsessed with her skin and skincare videos. When her estranged mother Noelle mysteriously dies, Belle finds herself back in Southern California, dealing with her mother's considerable debts and grappling with the lingering questions about her death. The stakes escalate when a strange woman in red appears at the funeral, offering a tantalizing clue about her mother's demise, followed by a cryptic video about a transformative spa experience. With the help of a pair of red shoes, Belle is lured into the barbed embrace of La Mansion de Méduse, the same lavish, culty spa to which her mother was devoted. There, Belle discovers the frightening secret behind her and her mother's obsession with the mirror. Yep, the mirror, and the great shimmering depths and demons that lurk on the other side of the glass. It says it's Snow White meets Eyes Wide Shut in this surreal descent into the dark side of beauty, envy, grief, and the complicated love between mothers and daughters. With black humor and seductive horror, Rogue explores the cult-like nature of the beauty industry. Oh my goodness. Now, our mystery of the week is The Death I Gave Him by M.X. Leo. This is a Hamlet modernization, locked room type of thriller, which, all of that, yeah. Hayden Litchfield's life is ripped apart when he finds his father murdered in their lab, and the camera logs erased. The killer can only have been after one thing, the Sisyphus formula the two of them developed together, which might one day reverse death itself. Hoping to lure the killer into the open, Hayden steals the research. In the process, he uncovers a recording his father made in the days before his death, and a dying wish, "Avenge me." With the lab on lockdown, Hayden is trapped with 4 other people: his uncle Charles, lab technician Gabriel Rossman, research intern Felicia Zai, and their head of security, Felicia's father Paul, one of whom must be the killer. His only sure ally is the lab's resident artificial intelligence, Horatio, who has been his dear friend and companion since its creation. With the world collapsing, Hayden must navigate the building secrets, uncover his father's lies, and push the boundaries of sanity in the pursuit of revenge. Uncover his father's lives, yeah. Moving into thriller, we have All Our Lies Are True by Lisa Manterfield. For far too long, Abby Kirkpatrick has lived with survivor's guilt. She was only 6 when her twin sister Cassie vanished without a trace from the room where they slept, an unsolved mystery that continues to haunt her family. Now, Abby is ready for a fresh start, a new town, and a promising career in child psychology. Maybe if she can save just one child, it will ease her conscience about losing Cassie. But when Cassie's remains are discovered, Abby's family is thrust into the devastating trial by media, with her father emerging as the prime suspect. Despite her older sister's efforts to protect the family from the fresh trauma, Abby returns to the scene of the crime. She's determined to uncover the truth about that fateful night. As she unravels a web of secrets, Abby realizes the close-knit family she has always trusted might be protecting a killer. And our last genre of the week is going to be horror, actually. The first one is kind of a suspensey horror, though, but I think it's going to lean more on the horror side. And it actually does say a standalone horror novel. This is Hemlock Island by Kelly Armstrong. Lainey Kilpatrick has been renting... Wait, is their last name's the same? I'm going to scroll back up. I'm sorry. Kirkpatrick. Kilpatrick. Okay, my bad. I got distracted by that. Lainey Kilpatrick... Yeah, I said that right this time. Lainey Kilpatrick has been renting her vacation home to strangers. The invasion of privacy gives her panic attacks, but it's the only way she can keep her beloved Hemlock Island, the only thing she owns after a pandemic-fueled divorce. But broken belongings and campfires that nearly burned down the house have escalated to bloody bones, hex circles, and now terrified renters who fled after finding blood and nail marks all over the guest room closet, as though someone tried to claw their way out and failed. When Lainey shows up to investigate with her teenage niece in tow, she discovers that her ex Kit has also been informed and is there with Jayla, his sister, and her former best friend. Then Sadie, another old high school friend, charters over with her brother, who's now a cop. There are tensions and secrets, whispers in the woods, and before long, the discovery of a hand poking up from the earth, then the body that goes with it. But by that time, someone has taken off with their one and only means off the island, and they're trapped with someone or something that doesn't want them leaving the island alive. I do question, though, why the people accept the cop. I guess the cop makes sense showing up. Our last book of the week is What Kind of Mother by Clay Chapman. After striking out on her own as a teen mom, Maddie Price is forced to return to her hometown of Brandywine, Virginia, with her 17-year-old daughter. With nothing to her name, she scrapes together a living as a palm reader at the local farmer's market. It's there that she reconnects with old high school flame Henry McCabe, now a reclusive local fisherman whose infant son, Skylar, went missing 5 years ago. Everyone in town is sure Skylar is dead, but when Maddie reads Henry's palm, she's haunted by strange and disturbing visions that suggest otherwise. As she follows the thread of these visions, Maddie discovers a terrifying nightmare waiting at the center of the labyrinth, and it's coming for everyone she holds dear. Well, we started the video out with minimal traffic, and yet it has kind of picked up through the video, and I'm sorry if it did come through. Hopefully it's not picking it up near as much as I'm hearing it. Fingers crossed. And maybe you were able to find something interesting on this list that you'd like, want to add to your TBR list or get. I have totally added the first one of the series to my Amazon wish list to find it later. I did. And maybe you'll want to go check out some of my other videos. That was a weird transition. Like the Mr. Magic review, because this book came out really, really good. Like, I highly recommend this book, especially this time of year, as we are hopefully transitioning into fall and spooky season. Really recommend this one. Yes. Or the whatever other video my brain farted. So, we're going to move on. And you'll subscribe if you're liking my content. And maybe we'll move these videos back to in front of the bookshelf. I don't know yet. But I hope you're having a fantastic day and finding something awesome to read. I'll see y'all later.